Hey, everybody. I have the most amazing guest with me today. Ameerah is somebody that I met. She's a trans woman, and I met her on Instagram. And we just immediately, gosh, you're so awesome.
We
We
vibe,
just
we
immediately
vibe.
bonded. We
Yes.
vibed out, my friend. So, mostly I want to have the conversation with you because, first off, because you're a trans woman and I'm a trans man, and I think a lot of times people don't hear these conversations between me and you. It's a lot mostly. I think a lot of the conversation deals with trans women stuff and not so much trans men.
Especially
But
because that scene has been infiltrated. I've noticed that it's not very, I don't even feel
yes,
comfortable in that scene. And I wanted to switch the label from transgender to transsexual because I thought it would be a lot easier.
yeah, yeah, that's right. You identify as a transsexual woman.
Yeah, I
Yes,
mean, I'm not changing
great.
my sex, I'm changing my gender, but at the same time,
Yeah,
it's the transgender scene isn't the transgender scene anymore. Like with kids self-identifying as trans, and you know, it's just like, or not even just kids. Like for me, kids is like under the age of 18, and even I would go as far as to say in their early 20s, like college kids. You know what I mean?
yep,
Because like when you're young and in college, you don't have all the lives, you don't have all of the experience or the life knowledge needed to make such strong decisions, you know?
that's right. That's
So I
right.
just don't understand why would you adopt this radical ideology of gender and that every okay, so anyways, you start the interview. I
Yeah.
have a lot more things to say, but
No, I know you do. That's why I love you because you're very outspoken. We don't have a lot of outspoken people today in our community. People are too scared to say things like what you're saying for a fear of being called transphobic, which I'm sure you have been. I've been called transphobic constantly because I have a different opinion.
I
Like Blair
actually
White.
actually
Yeah,
I was called transphobic by my neighbors when they saw me post that video, especially because it was sad too because
unbelievable.
one of my neighbors is a trans woman like me, but you know, she
Yeah.
got mad at me. Have you not seen the damage? Have you not looked that all of us like look like
Wow.
men in dresses now? And instead of like, in my opinion, being trans was like the fight was to not be seen as a man in a dress. Now, unfortunately, everybody sees us as a man in a dress, and I don't want to be associated with that. You know, it's not that's
Yep.
not my thing. We were fighting to show that we are who we are, who we say we are. We were fighting to like, you know, make our bodies look similar to the way we feel, you know, to match our outsides with the insides. Unfortunately, that's not the case anymore because so many people have this like adopted this idea that no, I could be a trans woman, and even though I don't look like a woman at all, therefore, you know, like I don't need to do that because like Alok said this or these popular influencers said that, and it's like,
That's right.
no, that's not fair. That's not fair because
So for you, it's important for you, I can say for myself, to look like a woman. Is that like, like a
yeah,
woman? So no,
that is, that
whatever.
is. That is
Right.
100% true. I want to look like a woman and not just that. And I don't, I like, I don't know. I don't want to stop. You know, like I'm already getting there, but at the same time, I
Hmm.
want to I want to go all the way with this. Get the full surgery, the bottom surgery, you know? And a lot of
Right.
people would be shy about that and or just like not do that. But I need to do that in order to feel aligned. And I'm not
Right.
getting the pussy just to like, you know, for like shallow reasons. I actually need it because it's hard. Like when you actually have dysphoria, it's hard to look at yourself in the mirror and see male parts or see certain male things in there. It's like
Hmm.
as a trans woman, it's hard to see like, you know, just to see stuff not
Yes.
matching, you know, it's just it feels weird. It doesn't feel true, you know? And I don't want to live a
Yeah.
lie. That's the
Totally.
most important thing. I don't want to live a lie. I don't want to live a lie.
So I don't think you are living a lie. So today we have what we call a transgender umbrella. When I transitioned 30 years ago, it was what me and you did. We transitioned to look like men and women. We want to be
Mm,
called men and women. We want to coexist in the world as men and women. And
exactly.
it's fair that things change. It's
Mm,
fair that things change. I don't, whatever those people want to do over there. But what I have an issue with, and I think you do too from my conversation with you, is that we're lumped in with them and we're a part of that when we're completely separate from what the other people are doing, sort of non-binary, not wanting to pass, walking around in a dress and a beard. Again, that's their choice, but why are we associated with that when that's not
mm.
really where we're coming from, right?
100%,
how do
100%.
we how do we as transsexual people say to the world, well, that's not our space and we don't agree? So for example, I don't agree with trans women in sports
A
right
hundred
now
percent, a
because I
hundred
don't think it's right.
percent. I mean, I don't know
Mhm.
why. Okay, like for me personally, I don't know why. Like for me, I don't know why as a trans woman would you want to compete in sports in the first place, right? Like it's not a very feminine thing to do, you know? It's not. I mean, stereotypically, this is stereotypically talking. Like, of course,
Yeah,
everybody's free to do what they want, right? And but
sure,
like
sure.
seeing people like Leah Thomas really pissed me off, to be honest with you. Really pissed me off because I was like, okay, clearly, and I'm gonna say this, and there's gonna be backlash from this, and I'm gonna be
So what?
honest. Like, you can clearly
Yeah.
tell Leah Thomas is a dude in a one piece bikini. You know, it's not even passing, not even trying. And you know there was a huge disadvantage. Like
Yes.
not like a normal not like a normal disadvantage. Like there was a huge gap. Like
Yes.
you can't fight with those muscles. You can't fight with those broad shoulders. You can't fight
Yeah.
like as a woman, like as a normal girl, you cannot fight somebody with that amount of strength, physical strength, because that is literally like that's an imbalance right there. That's I don't know. I
Well,
just think it's really
and as a
unfair.
trans, no, I personally, as a transsexual man who
Mm,
was born female, and
mm.
I was a competitive in competitive sports, I 100% disagree with trans. And it's not transphobic for us to say that as trans people. I think really what it is that we see the unfairness, and really what it is about building a level playing field. And if we're not honest as trans people that say, wait a minute here, we're actually seeing it with everyone in the world sees it, and yet there's people in our community and pretending like they don't see it or that it's transphobic to say something about it, right? What if
Mm.
someone's getting their ass beat and you're just watching, but because you're not supposed to say anything because they're supposed to get their ass? But that doesn't make sense. I think as humans, we're supposed to be, hey, wait a minute here. There's something wrong with this equation. And so why do we keep getting called? Why do we keep getting called transphobic just because we don't agree with something that's clearly not a level playing field? That's what you know what I mean? Like that's what I
Yeah,
don't understand. Why are we
it's
getting
just
called these names?
we're getting called transphobic, we're getting backlash, and it's just like it's annoying. And I think we're getting called that because we're not
It's
being quote
annoying.
unquote inclusive. And it's like, okay,
Oh,
like I didn't know being inclusive
yeah.
means adding predators, adding people that just want the attention. I didn't know being inclusive meant like including everything that's wrong, not just with the whole world under the trans
Oh my
umbrella,
goodness.
and making it our
Yeah,
problem because
that's
it's
right.
not.
That's
Because
right.
it's not. It's
That's a
quite
great.
frankly, it's not.
That's actually really great how you said it. You're right. Why do we, as the trans community, have to be so inclusive that anyone and everyone could be trans? Like literally, they're identifying as animals now. They're saying trans cats. I'm like, come on, man. You're making a mockery of us. This is not. This is an actual disorder that I have and that you have. We have an actual disorder that we fixed, and we don't want to be lumped in with all this. Like you don't just self ID. You have to go through a system here, and this is why I distance
I
myself from the
actually
umbrella.
Oh my gosh, I actually agree with you on that. And actually, I have something to say
Mm,
on that because with my journey,
great.
I didn't go from being like a boy straight up to a girl. Like, that is not the
Okay.
process. Like, with every other transsexual individual or transgender individual, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it, like me
Yeah.
and you, we had to go through the gradient, right? We had to
Yeah.
start off like on a normal base because it's supposed to be a gradient. Like, actual change takes time. You
Hmm.
can't just hop from like being a quote unquote straight guy all the way to a trans woman like in 1 second. That's not how it works. You go through that shade, right? I went through as like being I thought I was straight and no, let me explain. I thought I was a dude at first, and then I was like, okay, I'm not the typical dude, so I could be my own thing, right? And I had this voice, which obviously is kind of weird if I look like you and I talk like this. That's kind of a little off, right? A little bit off. But I thought I could be my own thing, and then I thought I was bi, and then after that I came out as gay, and then
Hmm.
after that, like I went through like being gay for 8 years, and I recognized that things weren't working because I had enough experiences underneath my belt to make the jump and say that I am a trans woman. But if you don't have that experience, how do you know? How do
That's
you know?
right. How do you
Where
know?
do
I
you
mean,
know?
we all, on some level, right? We knew when we were kids or whatever, we felt different or we felt
Of
like
course,
that.
there were hints
But
here and there, but
yes,
it
a hundred
wasn't the full
percent.
picture. It
But
wasn't the
but
full
but
picture.
it wasn't like all of a sudden you're trans because you just say you're trans. Like that's actually really dangerous, just to say, okay, if that person says they're trans, they're trans. That's actually not real. That's why I don't like affirmative therapy, because you can't just affirm because someone says they're trans, because they could be being lumped into it. They could feel that way today and change their way tomorrow. And so what I don't understand is why we're not giving more therapy, why we're not taking them through a system
Mm.
slowly and securely, and so that they can actually change their mind if they need to without any damage. That's what I don't, and I think me and you agree on that. I don't think I understand why we're making people transition so fast. Like we're in a hurry to get kids on hormones and medicalize them because they'll kill themselves. What kind of way of being is that? That all of it's coming from negative space. None of it's coming from we love you and we care about you and we really want you to be successful in life. It more feels very rushed, right?
Like with that being said, I mean, of course there will be like a small percentage, a very small percentage, like literally
Small.
probably that actually know from the get-go. But like in general, like I totally agree with what you're saying. Kids don't have the mindset or the capabilities, especially with the video that you shared of me, especially when I had that green curly hair. Oh, I miss my long hair. But girl, that's not the point. That's not the, oh, by the way, I call everybody around me girl. Like it doesn't matter the gender. I just
Oh,
say
I'm not, please. I'm so old school. You can call me whatever you want. I don't really care. Call
I
me
guess
a-hole.
like I like I just I mean some people might get offended by that, but it's
That's
like
their
that's my
problem.
thing. But I
Also,
guess what I was
everybody gets offended now over everything.
that is a
We
trend.
gotta
That is a
chill out.
trend.
We gotta chill
That is
out
a
a little bit.
right. Take a deep breath. Okay, but I remember what I was saying in that video
Mhm.
was is that like I remember saying in regards to kids transitioning, like young kids transitioning, is that like when you're like, and there are many psychologists that back this theory up, is that when you're young, when you're from the ages of like, especially when when you first develop memory, which is somewhere around like 4 or 5 or 6, like
Yeah.
0 to 3, you have no idea. Like
Yep.
literally, it's almost impossible to like for a kid to say when they're like 1 years old or
Yep.
like when they're born, hey, I'm trans,
That's
like
right.
that's not a thing. But when you're like, when you develop, when your memory starts developing and then when your brain starts to develop, like literally, there has been psychologists that have agreed that when you're, you know, 25 is the age when you really become a quote unquote adult. But for me, I think you become an adult like give yourself 3, maybe 4 years of leg room just to seriously think and consider based on everything that you know about yourself to make that leap,
That's
you
right.
know?
Yep.
And I just think that like even if like you are young and you really want to transition, give yourself a lot of time to think about it because a lot of the changes are irreversible. For
Yep.
example, these boobs, I cannot get rid of them, you
Yep.
know? So
Yep.
that's why I had to think so hard and deep before I said yes.
Thank you.
And I remember even when I talked with my best friend about, starting hormones,
Hmm.
he told me that like I was nervous. I was hyper nervous, right? And I had to do all my research. I had to really sit down long and hard.
Hmm.
And for me, I just made that decision, that leap when I realized like I admit I transitioned at 27, so I gave myself like 2 years of leg room. But to
Right.
be fair, there was a lot more signs that indicated. And of course, if you have those signs, then maybe transition like after 1 or 2 years of like I think give yourself at least minimum 2 years of
Yep.
leg room just to really think about it. But in long story short, it's really important for kids to take the time to develop and know who they are because there's more that because affirmative care is not really affirmative because you're not looking at all the other diagnoses,
That's
right? And as
right.
somebody that has
That's
mental
right.
illness, there
Yep.
was more to me than just being trans. I'm bipolar schizophrenic, and I'm
Okay.
not ashamed of it.
Nope.
Okay, it's a stigma. It's I mean, it's a mental health.
Yep.
It's mental
Yep.
health and it's part of who I am.
Yep.
But with other kids, there might be other issues, like they might have a missing father, a missing mother, God knows what it
That's
is, and
right.
they might have and they like for me I didn't grow up with my mom and that was one issue and there's so many other issues to kids nowadays and I
That's
you
right.
know what I miss back in the day, I'm sure you remember this, teenage angst. Remember when that was a thing?
Totally.
Remember when that was a thing when you were just mad at the world because you were mad at the
Totally.
world because everything was changing? That's normal for teenagers to go through. Now I think when you have angst they call it dysphoria and it's like that. Come on, that's
You're
a
actually
bit.
a smart lady. You're a smart lady. You're actually onto something there. No, they just actually relabeled it, and now you know what I mean. Kids go through every kid. I don't care if you're cisgender, straight, gay, whatever. Every single child goes through some turmoil in their life with body issues, issues with mental health, trauma. I mean, I was just talking to somebody who has, I think it's called DID, dissociative identity disorder. So it's basically
Oh, okay.
people who have a bunch of different personalities. And this person was told every time they go to a therapist, the therapist says, I think you should transition. Like they're pushing this person into transitioning when they're like, but I don't feel like I'm trans at all. I just have all this stuff going on. And I'm like, wow, it's so weird. Like trans has become a sort of space that you can just push people in, even with disorders that don't necessarily
I
connect
think
to
it's the end
being
all
trans.
be all.
That's
I,
right.
I think I think it's the end all be
Yeah.
all, and that's not the case. It's not the end all
It's
be all because
sad. No.
I don't know, like I was watching a video by Blair White about why she didn't want to do the surgery, right? And when
Hmm.
she
Hmm.
said it, there was a lot of truth to what she was saying. And I think that's the
Right.
problem with the trans community. There is no discourse about this. There is no
No.
actual discussion
None.
about what is right and what is wrong within the community. Even though I understand in real life there is no such thing as like quote unquote right or wrong, but there is a right and wrong to being trans because
Hmm. That's
there
right.
is a clear line. There is a clear line. Like there's so many people detransitioning and regretting to transition. And it's like I see it more with women, but I know that there are cases with men that
Yep.
detransition, and it's
Yep.
mostly because like, especially when you have a straight normal dude that decides to become a trans woman,
That's right.
you know that there's something off. Like and like even if you do have a fetish or a kink of
Hmm.
wearing women's clothing, you could go follow that and make it your kink,
That's
but you
right.
don't have to transition to do that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or they could have internalized homophobia, and it's like, what's wrong with just being gay, girl? Like,
I
just try
know.
being gay and see how it goes for you,
That's
right?
right.
Like, literally, there's so much more to it. And
Yep.
like, I guess the thing is like being trans is not the end all be all. And my back to my point when I was saying I was watching that video by Blair White about why she got the surgery,
Hmm.
why she didn't get the surgery.
Hmm.
Sorry about that.
That's right.
If you can edit that, that would be great.
That's all right. Don't
But
worry. Everybody
all
knows
right,
Blair. Yeah.
why she didn't get it.
Yeah.
She mentioned that a lot of people assume when they got the surgery, like the people that she
Uh
knew,
huh.
they recognized they still had rent to pay, they still had to find a job, they still had to recognize that all the other problems within their life,
That's
and that
right.
getting the pussy wasn't the end all be all.
That's right.
So for me, when I want that, about like for it being like, okay, that's it, I
Yep.
win now, like, or it's a
Yep.
game changer, I'm gonna succeed in life. Like, no, I still want to pursue my careers. I'm struggling career wise, and I'm like thinking more and more about it.
Yep.
I admit I'm still struggling as a human being. Being trans to me is not my solution to everything,
That's right.
but I'm struggling as a human being with other aspects of my life. There's financial aspects,
Mm-hmm.
there's personal relationships aspects, and there's like, so my social like interactions with people.
Sure.
There's so many more aspects to me. I admit when I transitioned, I did get a little bit better. Like my mental health did get a little bit better
Great.
and alleviate, but it didn't help me escape from my other problems. I
See.
admit now I feel more comfortable in my own body. I
Mm-hmm.
love looking at myself in the mirror, like when I'm
Excellent.
dressed up, looking good. But like, but when I'm just like, but there are other things in my life that I want to pursue and I want to, try to fix certain things in my life.
Yeah.
And, there's so much more to life than just being
I
transgender.
agree.
And that's why I think it's dangerous when kids throw that label on themselves
Yeah.
because, and it's not even just about kids, like,
No.
people that are in college or like in their teens. Point is like, I said this in my video again, which is like, I get it. People want to help when they see someone struggling,
Sure.
but you don't have to help by infiltrating the group. You could help by keeping your self
That's
distance
right.
and just like advocate for us, but not try to be us.
That's right. And also, I think that we have so many allies now that are misinformed. And they think that what they're doing is helping us when they're hurting us, when they start to push agendas that I call the trans rights activists. Those are the ones who are really pushing agendas that don't align with me. And so, why I speak out, because people need to understand the trans community is not monolithic. We have all different kinds of people. Trans is a bridge.
Amen to that.
People forget that trans is a means and a way to become a better person. It's not who you are. So today, these kids are all identifying as trans. That's where I don't align. I don't identify as a trans. I identify as a man who is a transsexual who had to fix my problem in order to move through the world. But today, trans is an actual identity choice, like gay or bi, or that's why I'm wondering if it's even the same as you and I. It doesn't feel the same to me. And so why
Not at
should I be
all.
lumped into that, or why should I let somebody talk for me when I don't agree with transitioning young kids. No,
100%.
I do not agree with it.
100%.
No, not at all.
I
And
hate
so
it when people have to speak up for others when we have a mouth so we can talk for ourselves. It's
that's
like,
right. That's why I appreciate you coming on and from a trans woman experience that you don't agree with what trans women are being represented as. And so, can I
I
ask
don't
you?
want to
So,
see
did you
myself.
start?
Oh,
When did you start
sorry.
transitioning? What age did you start actually going through the hormonal transition?
27
Twenty
years and
seven.
4 months. It was on
Wow.
February 21st, 25th. February 25th is when I got my first hormones. So February 25th of 2021 was when I started
Okay.
taking hormones.
Oh, so
And my
you're
life,
super new. Oh, so you just started
I'm
like a couple of years.
baby. I'm
Yeah, you
baby
look
girl.
amazing.
Sorry.
You look amazing. Wow. I mean, you really do look so great and amazing. And I think you're very passable. And I know that's your goal, but you do look. And for some reason, people think it's transphobic now to pass. And I'm like, what? What? That's actually the whole reason I'm a trans person, so I can pass.
Can I also
So,
ask you this as well?
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I know you're interviewing me, but I wanted to ask you this if you feel the same way too. Do you feel that, like, I don't know, I think you've noticed this, but do you, okay, like, crap, I forgot what I wanted to say.
Oh, that's
Sorry.
okay.
But but I did remember that as a trans woman, I do have to say this is that, like, I hate it when I see myself, like people like me,
Yeah.
being represented on the media as a dude in a fucking dress
Yeah.
or as like some sort of like, okay, now I don't mind people doing whatever they want to do, but it's also just, I find it completely annoying is that, like, in films you don't get like a normal trans girl, like quote unquote normal, but like a trans girl that is like, that was a gay man and now is and now is like
Yeah.
straight and etc etc. It's always like some queer
That's
polyamorous
right.
etc etc
That's
etc.
right.
Like they throw in all the freaking labels
That's right.
underneath and I'm just like, is this really necessary? Is this really good
No,
representation?
it's
It's
not.
like, I get it, you want to represent everybody, but like,
Yeah,
like take the time to showcase everybody, not just
a
like,
very certain
the
kind.
ones that stand
Well,
out.
right. Well, that's the problem that I have
Right.
with inclusivity and diversity. That's the problem I have. It's like now the umbrella is so diverse that it doesn't even represent us. It represents straight people calling themselves queer. Like what? Like it's just so
Thank
insane.
you.
And diversity
Thank
and
you.
inclusion isn't real. You can't include everybody. That's actually not true. And so you'll never meet your goals when you do stuff like that. And so we've lost
Thank
control of
you.
our community. We've lost control of it. Some people have on some level taken it to a level that many of us, and I'm 60. I just turned 60 years old. You're 27 years old.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Huh?
How old are you? 27.
I'm turning 29 this year.
29. Okay, but anyway, you're a baby. So I want people to see that even though we have a generational gap of 30 years, me and you are in alignment. So when people say that a person of myself and my age is just that I'm old and I've aged out, that's not true. There are people like you who are even younger than you who have complete total agreement with me. So that's the other thing I want people out there to hear. Just because I'm older and I did it a different way, transsexual has never changed. The whole reason behind being a transsexual, the whole idea of what we want to do, you can see the age between me and her, and that she's exactly the same way I am. So that's why I want people to see we need to reclaim and use the word transsexual for people who have a mental disorder and are okay with having that mental
There
disorder.
has Agreed.
Yeah,
We need to
right.
separate. We need to separate, I think, because I can't deal with the
Yeah,
transgender thing anymore, especially because it's like, oh my gosh. And also, I have to say this. I also hate being seen as somebody who is like a predator.
oh
It's
God,
just like, especially, have you
no.
seen, like, there's the Wii Spot incident. There's the Wii Spot incident,
Oh,
okay,
yeah, I know. It's
which is
horrible.
valid, which is a valid concern, which is a valid
Of
concern from the
course.
right. Is that,
Yes.
like, how do you know when somebody is a predator
That's
or when someone
right.
is being genuine?
That's exactly right. And it's sad because we've always been looked at predators, and now it feels like it's just thrown in people's faces on some level. I'm sorry to the trans world out there, but we are a very small minority of the world. And when you're a small minority, sometimes you have to sort of figure out a way to get to the next level without being a dick, if that makes sense, without being an asshole, without
Yeah,
smashing in people's faces. You have to learn. That's how I got
so
where I
true.
am.
So
I,
true.
you just take those steps. And sometimes, the world isn't always going to like you. And I don't care who you are or what you are. It's just the reality. We're teaching trans youth that they have every right to say the things they say. And if people don't believe them, then they can just go F you. But that's not the way you teach young kids to be part of the world. You teach them to understand that always there's going to be people who don't like you, and that's okay. But you just have to move around that and figure out who will like you. And so, I think we're giving bad skills to people, and we're doing weird things in the name of trans. Everything in the name of trans now. It's upsetting. And so, well, is there anything that you want to
It's
say
very true.
before we go? I'm going to bring you on a live. This is a recorded, obviously, but I want to bring you on a live because I think a lot
I,
of people would get a lot out of speaking to you about your beliefs. And
I
but is
thank
there?
you so much. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. I just
yeah, you're
Oh, but there
awesome.
is some things I want to say, and
Yes,
I
yes,
totally agree with you 100% because when I was growing
yes,
up, at least this was when I was in high school back from like 2008 till 2011, right?
yeah,
Like, you know what
yeah.
I mean? Like from ninth grade until 12th grade, you know?
Okay,
When
right.
I was growing up, I had bullies, right? I had
Of
people giving me
course.
shit every day. Girl, they even physically assaulted me too. But did I like, I never had the courage to be like, not the courage. I never had the audacity to be like, if you disagree with me on this opinion about me, you're wrong.
Yeah,
You're the devil incarnate.
yeah.
You deserve to be shamed. You deserve to be humiliated. Like, that's not how you progress as a
No,
society,
it's
to
not.
be honest with
Thank
you.
you.
And I think if you genuinely are who you say you are, you shouldn't. I don't know how to say this,
Well,
but I'm just gonna say
yeah,
it.
say it.
You shouldn't take offense when other people, have their disagreements with you, when other
That's
people
right.
don't see you as you are or something like that. If you really are who you say you are, you should be able to walk this world. It doesn't matter what they
Yeah,
say. They could hate you, they could spit on you,
that's
they
right.
could do whatever they want to you, but as long as you know who you are, that should be a validation enough. You shouldn't go outside externally to seek validation
That's
or
right.
approval or confirmation. Maybe if you're doing this for like, maybe if you were in university and you were doing like in whatever you were studying in, you want that letter of
Yeah,
recommendation from your professor. Okay, that's one
yeah.
thing, but not in real life. In real life, you don't get thicker skin when you have to create all these rules,
That's
all
right.
these laws just to confirm that you are a human being. Everybody knows you are a human being. The only thing people want to see from you, if you are who you say you are, is to grow a backbone or
Yes.
just take the high road, you know?
Yes, that's what I'm
That's a part
saying.
of that's
That's
that's a part of being the LGBT. That's a part to me, that's what I thought LGBT meant. It's like
yes.
that's what I thought
Yes.
being part of the LGBT really meant, was that like you grow up, you have thicker skin and you're able to pursue and do more and you're able to be a better
That's
person.
right.
This is like that's the normal process, right? That's what I saw in the movies back in the
Yep.
day. That's what I saw from people back in the day.
Excellent.
That's what I saw from everybody, is that they were able to pursue their dreams and their careers and be successful and happy people
Yes.
because they had something other than their own identity.
That's right.
They didn't make their identity who they are.
Right.
Because, like, being trans is a part of me, but it's not the only thing of me. I'm weird. I am funny. I'm cute. I like makeup. I like hair care. These are stereotypical
Yep.
things, but I generally love hair care. And I also love like watching cartoons. I love Sailor Moon.
Excellent.
I love reading about like psychology. I love so many there's like various aspects to me,
Yep.
right? I'm not gonna make this the sole identity of me. You
That's
know,
because you have a
it's
life,
not.
my friend, and we're not. These kids are a lot of them are lost. I think it's become a club, right? It's a way and a means to feel a
An
part of.
exclusive club, to be
Yeah, to
honest.
feel a
An
part of.
exclusive club.
But there's I know a lot of detransitioners, and that is a whole other conversation. But the
We need
reason
to talk about this. You got to get me on your live more. I
I
mean, I
will.
have so many
I
things to
will. Yeah, no, I want
say.
to get
Oh
you
my
on a live
gosh.
YouTube. I'm going to get you on a live YouTube because I think we can reach more people on the live YouTube. And you're really an important part of our community because you're willing to have the conversation that a lot of people want to ask trans women things, that you are very open about having that, where
Open.
you can't necessarily ask a trans woman. She'll get offended, or the ones I've seen, they get offended or they call you transphobic and they shut you down. And I'm like, what's happening to our community? Why are we so polarized and hateful? And if anyone says anything, they're a turf and they're transphobic, and that doesn't move us forward. It's making us, that people hate us more than ever. I've never felt more hated in my life, ever. People hate trans people because they're acting like insane. It's
I
yeah,
agree. I agree 100%. Because when I transitioned,
yeah.
there wasn't even this much hate back in
No, it
2021.
wasn't.
I think it was
Nope.
slowly starting. I think it
Yep.
just got recently, it became a thing
Yep.
because of all the incidents that have happened, you know?
That's right.
And also, I just have to say, like, you were a pioneer of this community. Like, I knew before I transitioned, I knew about you. I heard about you, and you are legendary. Like, you
Thank
should be
you.
respected.
Thank
You
you.
should be admired. You are the king of this community, to be
Well,
honest. You have
thank
all the right to say how you feel. You have
you.
all the right to say how you feel and what you think and what you know
Yeah.
because you are a
Thank
pioneer.
you.
Okay, like I don't understand why people are giving you backlash
Because
for
I
it. Because
am.
like legit,
Because I have been around for a while, and then they don't like that. And I don't think of myself as the be all end all, and I don't think of myself as I only know. If you notice, I only talk about my own transition, and I don't talk about other people's transition. So, yeah, I don't know, why people are so. There's very few elders in this community, especially trans men. So I don't know. I feel like it's something else. I don't necessarily know if they hate me or if they're sort of envious of me or
they're probably triggered.
yeah, triggered
They're
by
probably
me
triggered.
because I don't speak like them and I have a different way of being. I don't know, but it's actually not healthy. I don't take it personally because like I'm just older and I have a lot thicker skin than many of the young kids do. And I've just I'm here to be. I'm here because I want to be here. So if I didn't want to be here, I'll just leave. But I want you to say your IG and do you have a Twitter and an IG and so people can find you. Where can they find you?
I have an Instagram account which is Ameerah, my name, so
Yep.
Ameerah, and then A, which is the first initial of my last name, just
Right.
Ameerah
Okay.
A93.
Right. Okay.
That's it.
93.
You could, and I mean, I just post a lot of selfies.
I know
I just
you're
love taking
awesome.
selfies. Whenever I feel good, I'm like, I have to record it. I have to record it. I have to take a
No, but
picture.
I love watching you
I'm
on
too
your
much. I'm
lives.
too
No,
much.
you're great on your lives. You say what needs to be said. So anyone who's looking to follow a trans woman who's not woke and is most definitely about her own self and about actually your own opinions, please follow her because she really is very smart and I think you're going to grow and I think you're going to do a lot of good stuff for our community. But me and you are connected, so I'm going to bring you on more stuff. And I think it's a way we can heal the community and heal uh, what's
I
going
think
on,
so.
which
You
feels
know,
great.
I'm all for people being who they are. I'm all for
Of
inclusivity,
course.
but only when it's genuine.
Well,
To be honest
that's the
with you.
thing is that we have so many of people like that who are now part of our community and who have changed the dynamic of our community. And that's why I don't consider myself transgender and I'm transsexual. He can speak for whatever's going on over there, or they, I think, or they can do that. That's fine. But don't speak for me. Do not speak for me. That is not my space. I'm a dude. I'm 100% a dude. A dude who's biologically female. So there you go, friends. Follow Ameerah because Ameerah because she's really awesome and beautiful, and I like you so much. I just do. I think you have a lot of powerful stuff to bring to the world.
We vibe. I told you that moon and
I know.
Cancer, and also as you're a Gemini, I'm a
I'm
Virgo,
a
so we both
Gemini.
share wisdom. We both
That's
notice
right.
things.
We
We
need
both
you.
notice things that are off, and we're
That's
just gonna
right.
call it
And we
out.
can't hide. I can't
We're
just
just gonna
pretend
call.
like nothing's happening. I'm like the guy. I like literally have to say it because I can't hold my tongue. So whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I think that I'm just gonna say it to you again. You're a lovely soul, and I think you are really needed at this time, my friend. So thanks for coming on here,
And
and
also, I have to say, I'm just like you. I'm just like you in that sense. Like, I can't lie.
I
If
know you
something
are.
makes me feel awkward,
I
I'm
know.
just gonna show it through my face, like,
That's
even if I
right.
can't say it.
I saw it on your Instagrams. They're brilliant, my friend. And so thanks so much for hanging out with me and having this conversation. And